I'm Sarah. I read as Sora the Intuitive for Sky Messages by Sora. I am a tarot reader who specializes in past life readings. I also teach and mentor the tarot. I have two journals, one for learning the tarot and one for more learning yourself and deepening the connection with your deck. That one's a collaboration with Killer Pancake, who makes a couple of the decks I'll be reviewing. The reason I started this channel, and specifically this series, the tarot review series, is that I really want people to be able to have a connection. I want anyone who wants to do the tarot to be able to learn it. And a lot of times people get really frustrated because the first deck that they start using, they don't really connect with. And so I'm hoping that instead of getting frustrated or spending a lot of money on decks that they then realize they don't want, people can sort of start to learn what their style is, what theme they're looking for, what kind of imagery works for them, and help people find the right decks for them. I do believe that if there is a tarot deck out there, there is an audience for it. And if there is somebody who wants to learn, then there's definitely a deck for them. So this won't have star ratings. This won't be about what's good and bad. It'll be about the details, such as the guidebook, a level that it's good for, like basic to advanced. It will be, how close it is to the Rider-Waite or the Tarot de Marseille, or the Thoth for those who prefer that. And it will just give people a look and hopefully help them start to begin their journey. Or for those of us who have been on their journey for a while, but are thinking about new decks and testing out different things, give them a preview. So there are some of the decks behind me, but if there are any you're interested in, let me know. And let's get started. For this week, this tarot deck review, we are looking at the Dark Grimoire Tarot. Starting out, comes in a regular tuck box. I got mine at Well Oiled in Dormont, which if you're in Pittsburgh, you'll know where that is, but you can get it at most of your metaphysical type shops. Looking at the guidebook, it's nice. It's not one that I would learn with. It does come in 5 languages, which is always nice. The Lo Scarabo 10-2. I do like, though, the kind of poeticness that they put into the book, looking at the major arcana and stuff. The reason I wouldn't recommend it for learning is that they look at the significance of the suits and the numbers, but don't go into the minor arcana card by card. I do love when decks speak to the suits and the numbers, but I do also like to have a card by card. The cards are sturdy. They're fairly standard tarot cards, but they're nice, sturdy, easy to shuffle. The back does go one way, so if you are somebody who reads in reverse, you may not like that. I shuffle so my cards don't go in reverse, so when they do, it's a big deal, so I don't think about that as much, but I do know that a lot of people prefer not to. In terms of meanings, with the major arcana, they stick to a fairly traditional, not necessarily the Rider-Waite. There is some of that. Well, there's a lot of that, but it's a more traditional from before that. They are a little bit darker and have some dark passages, but it is a tarot deck based on the Necronomicon. So that is going to happen. I was actually looking for a Lovecraft type deck, and there are a few out there. There are a couple of really nice illustrator ones out there, but this one just fit me the best, especially in terms of the tarot and how I read. I love that with the colors, it sticks to a largely tan, sepia, neutral type palette, but still pulls so much into it with life and color. Like, I really, really enjoy that. You see there's actually plenty of color in the background. It's just kind of a muted, so you get the feeling while still getting that aesthetic. So who is this good for? See, you'll see strength is 11. That is true for any deck that is not based on the Rider-Waite. Arthur Waite made that change to fit some of his ideals of how the major arcana should go. This one keeps sliding. And so every deck before that and many since have gone back to that 11. So when I say it's not Rider-Waite based, that is, there's many reasons that I say that. But that's a great key if you're somebody who's trying to figure that out. If you like to stick to Rider-Waite based decks, then I recommend you pull out the major arcana and see if strength is 8 or 11. If it is 8, it is the Rider-Waite version. If justice is 8, it is not. So, continuing on with who it's good for. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for beginners unless you are a huge Lovecraft fan and have a really good system for learning, like another course or something, another deck that you're learning on. It's a beautiful deck. It's a lot of fun. I see, you can get the devil as one of the old gods. It's a lot of fun, but it does take a little bit more extensive knowledge to pull from. I love this Five of Pentacles, where we look at poverty and fear of loss and being left out in the cold. He's seeing everything happen. He's not having a good time, but he can see the monster approaching. And it has just that feel. Intermediate, advanced, absolutely. Professional, I think so. Although if I'm going to use it professionally, it will be something that my client picks, or that goes with the theme of an event. You'll see I use it on like TikTok a lot, but it's not my everyday professional deck, but it is a good one because there's a lot to point out in the illustrations. If you are a horror fan, especially like the Lovecraft, it's great. If you grew up in New England, it's always fun because you see a lot of the Arkham, which is based on where my husband grew up, and you see a lot of the Innsmouth, which is actually based a lot on where I lived when I was really young. So it's a lot of fun with that because you tend to know the references. Even if you weren't a big Lovecraft fan, you do tend to know where things like Arkham Asylum come from. I wanted to showcase this Ten of Pentacles too, because you have those creatures. I'm thinking Innsmouth here, and the people have come in, they're celebrating, they're staying, they've decided to come and be part of that community. And I really love that because the Ten of Pentacles has that idea of legacy and what do you leave and what do you want your life to look like, and giving back to the community. And so they keep with, absolutely with the themes, while still finding a way to make the positive, or the positive connotations of cards positive. Like they show, look at this Two of Cups. Isn't that beautiful? And that's that unconditional love card, that card of the romantic love, and you see that. And they're looking at that. So they take the theme and they never stray from it, but they still manage to fit all of the themes from the tarot. Sometimes with theme decks, especially darker theme decks, you lose some of the positive connotations. And sometimes with the lighter theme decks, they don't go as deep as you need. So the fact that they took that kind of time to really find those stories, to make those illustrations work that way, is really, really beautiful. I love this for the Fool, because we look at the Fool's journey, new beginnings, new chapters, clean slate, not even new chapters, a clean slate, new beginning. And like, yes, he's in Arkham Asylum, he's in a straitjacket, but it's a new wave of realization for him, if you're familiar with those types of stories. And so it's a nice twist, which doesn't take away from the meaning. It doesn't make it harder to read. So I love that sort of thing. So I'm going to shuffle to do our reading for the week. And while I do that, I want to thank you for liking and subscribing, sharing with anyone you think could benefit from these deck reviews or from readings. Heading over to my website if you are interested in where I will be at events and stuff this summer, or if you want to book a reading. And heading over to various social medias for anything more. Thank you so much. We are starting with the Six of Swords. So the Six of Swords is a card of moving forward. And I like moving forward instead of moving on, because moving on tends to feel like leaving things behind, either pretending they don't exist or allowing them to still affect you, but continuing on with your life. Moving forward feels like having a little bit of closure, and therefore you're able to take the good from the past without dragging the baggage along with you. It's leaving the past in the past while not denying that it existed. And then we have it with the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups being that card of, do I still need this? Should I be walking away? What adjustments do I need to make? The Eight of Cups is very much a card about having to move away from a situation that you would like to stay in, but is actively holding you back. It's that idea of staying with something because you always have, but because there's a fondness to it as well. It can be very hard to make that move. These are really interesting cards together because the Six of Swords has made that decision. It's moving forward, and the Eight of Cups kind of still needs to be pushed. These two together most often shows up in like friendships, relationships, where you are trying to maintain a level of attachment that you've sort of grown out of. This doesn't mean you have to just leave everybody behind, break up with everybody, stop being friends. It's just that you don't have to try to spend the same amount of time if you no longer have anything in common. One of the things about Facebook that is really interesting is that it is very hard for us to have those natural endings to relationships. You know, when you move and you wouldn't necessarily make the effort to continue to do phone calls, or you have like, there's natural endings as people grow in different ways. And it's really wonderful that we can still say hi to people and say happy birthday, because people still have those connections and that meaning, and you want that. But it is very hard to see how many of these are kind of in name only relationships. And as such, there can be this need to interact with people, whether it's every time you see a post or trying to make plans that don't really work because you don't have that same thing. And it's okay to move to that happy birthday. It's okay to go in a different direction. It doesn't mean you're abandoning anyone. It just means you're going in a different way. So we have that finally with the devil. The thing about the devil in the tarot is that it is about the devils we make for ourselves. So it makes perfect sense with these two cards, because on some level you've already moved on. You are already going forward. You've moved forward. You are already in another place. But on another level, you think of the times when you were so invested with this situation, relationship, that you thought it would be the same forever. And that kind of push and pull between different parts of your brain, heart, that balance between head and heart can really make it very hard when there's two pieces of you that are kind of fighting about that. Can create those little devils. The nice thing about this reading is that the devil tends to call us to, hey, what are you obsessing about, or what are you avoiding? And it looks like right here, what you're avoiding is kind of letting go of that aspect of your life, that piece of your life. So hopefully being able to make smaller adjustments will help with that, instead of worrying about just walking away. But having these cards together say that you do know what the situation is and what you should be doing. You just now need the courage to do it. Good luck.